Hey everyone, it's Sleepy Reader, aka Damien. This is my week's comic book thoughts, my countdown, totally subjectively ranking things by my mood, counting down. I've got 8 comics from number 8 to number 1. The one I enjoyed the most being number 1, the one I had got the least fun of reading, number 8. And yeah, my personal fun in reading comics is how I rank these things. So in last place at number 8 was Savage Dragon 251. And I have had other times where I wasn't so keen on Savage Dragon and then it would kind of come back for me. But lately I feel like my interest in Savage Dragon is slipping. I've probably been reading it, I think, for about 20 issues now. Maybe it's time to give it a rest. I'm not sure. The art style and the coloring style have shifted in recent issues, and I'm not a big fan of the way either looks right now. And the storyline is a bit too much like the worm that's eating its own tail. It's just a story that's just going around on its own past and its own old soap operas and stuff. And I just have trouble getting into it very much with this alternate version of the original Savage Dragon showing up, who I guess looks like the Savage Dragon that Erik Larsen drew in his fanzine days. So, yeah, just kind of a weak entry for me. A lot of sex in it, too. Very gratuitous feeling, I guess. Decorum. Number 4 comes in at number 7 for me. The main thing propping this up is the artwork. And as far as I can tell, there's very little story in this issue, and there's very little story that I can track from my memories of the first 3 issues. I know there was some kind of religious order, and they were worried about the end of the universe or the singularity or something like that. But other than that, I couldn't remember anything about them, and this issue didn't tell me much about them. There's a lot of cool visuals. It definitely, to me, felt like a lot of padding out with a lot of these graphics pages that don't actually have any writing here, imply there's some writing there. So, I don't know. It's in my opinion, a weird comic that I still kind of suspect is a simple story dressed up in all kinds of fancy technique. But in this particular issue, the story part was hard to even prize out of the technique part. There is kind of a cool concept about some kind of egg that people are trying to hatch. What that egg is and what's going on there, I have no idea. But I don't know. I don't have this on my pull list. I wasn't really planning to pick up this issue, so I shouldn't be complaining too much when I flipped through it at the store and the art looked cool and I couldn't resist. And so I got what I wanted. I got some cool art. I got what attracted me to it. But story-wise, for me, nothing going on. Nothing. Literally nothing going on. So beyond that, in at number 6 is all the rest were really fun reads. Good story, good art. Especially a huge fan of the art and coloring. Tamara Bonvillain on the colors, Dan Mora on the art. Incredible team. I think the reason why this ranks lowest amongst the ones that I thought were really good in at number 6 is just because, in a sense, it's more of the same and of what you would expect. So I'm enjoying it. I'm reading it. But just didn't. It just took the story a little bit of a step further, and that was cool with some great art. In at number 5, which was kind of unexpected, I grabbed this on a whim. I guess mostly because it's written by Peter David and had some Dale Keown art. But I didn't really expect much. But I really enjoyed Maestro. And there's probably all kinds of background on on the Hulk and sort of future stories, maybe like Old Man Wolverine. I'm not familiar with that storyline. I don't know if this connects up with that, but sort of apocalyptic possible futures for the Marvel Universe that we may have seen already. But we've got this version of the Hulk, whoever he really is, the Maestro, I guess. But the name Maestro is not used anywhere in this issue. We've got him waking up in some basically mostly dead Earth future, dead or dying Earth. And we got a lot of cool art, both from Dale Keown and the main penciler, Germain Perlata, and an interesting story from Peter David. Especially enjoyed the appearance of the nearly dead MODOK. But I was surprised because I assumed this was just some one shot that they were throwing out there to tie into something else. But it looks like it's the beginning of something that's ongoing at least for a while, maybe a mini-series or something. So the story ends with a to be continued and a teaser for the cover for next issue. Nothing on the cover resembles what was in the issue. There was no white bearded Hulk with jewelry on. There was no old school Hulk from the very early days either. So I'm a little bit out of the loop on things, but I enjoyed it. It was a good read. Another good read, but is The Goddamned, which I put off reading for a while, and then when I didn't drop it, I heard some stuff about it that made me think maybe it just wasn't what I wanted to read right now, but I found I was able to take it, so to speak, grim as it is, and in some ways it's not as grim as the first Goddamned series so far. Actually, I think we're heading into even grimmer territory in terms of the world that our characters are in. The coloring is fantastic, and the art is very good. I do have a sense, and I remember this from the Goddamned #1, of moments where I'm a bit confused, especially visually. But in general, Jason Aaron and R.M. Guerra, the artist, don't want to give me a lot of hints about what's going on. And I occasionally feel a little frustrated. But it's not a big frustration. This is kind of an intense, cool story. I assume it's just going to be five or six issues like the first volume was. But we'll see. A very, very good comic. But about a horrible, horrible world. So, in a way, that might have been the best comic, especially in terms of there's so much good art in so many of these. I shouldn't say that. But I had even more fun with my #3 book, Rye, written by Dan Abnett with art by Juan Jose Ripe, who's always a favorite artist of mine. And this, again, rides a lot on my pleasure that I get from the art. But it's a solid adventure story, again in a apocalyptic future with kind of complexities that some of which come from previous series that I don't fully know about. I don't always know when something is being introduced in this book or comes out of previous storylines. But basically, Rye is cleaning up the world, getting rid of the tiny seeds or eggs of the previous sort of robotic dictator of the earth, I believe, and it's just developing in kind of fun ways. Often these issues are one and done, although part of the larger plot. This one, though, looks to be a two-parter, so hopefully they get it out pretty soon because it's been a long time since the last ride. This is my first Valiant comic since things shut down in March. Okay. Losing my breath. Alder is this odd comic that, as far as I know, is only being read by me and Jared Osborne. And he put it very well in some video that he was talking about it, saying, it's very odd to have a comic titled Adler, sorry, not Aldler, Adler, because how many people know what that's referring to, which is the strongest woman character ever to appear in a Sherlock Holmes story, who was an equal or better than Sherlock Holmes at intellectual matters. And so this has been just this great fun story full of repurposed pulp characters from Ashia from King Solomon's Mines, or is it from the book She, I think, maybe. And just all sorts of other people. There's a version of Orphan Annie in here. And so it's really fun. And the art seems to be improving from my taste, because I wasn't a big fan of the art in this comic. And it seems to have gotten better, although it's still not like my ideal art form. But it continues to be, for me, a really fun pulp read. And as you may notice lately, I'm really into the pulp, especially lately. I've just sort of re-keyed into that. When something takes lots of pulp elements and does fun things with them, I really love that. Yeah, so wait, we have Jane Eyre, we have Lady Havisham, we have Annie, we have Carmilla, who is a assassin vampire, and we have Irene Adler, and Aisha, the Queen of the Amazons, they're calling her. It's also weird this cover is not at all like the artwork on the inside. I guess that's a common enough thing, but I don't know. It seems like an odd choice of cover art for whom this should be appealing to. It looks more like a young adult kind of lighter adventure there. Okay, and in at number 1 is the weirdest thing I read, which is Ludocrats number 4. And I guess maybe the story is going to wrap up next issue, which has me very bummed, because I just delight in the wacky weirdness of this. On paper, this would be exactly the kind of book I don't like. The story is silly. There's endless goofy wordplay. I think if somehow I've read enough of the same things that what's his name? Kieran Gillen has read, or similar types of things, so that I kind of follow what he's goofing on a lot, not just pulp and comic book and science fiction things, but I don't know, all kinds of other things it seems like he's drawing on without saying exactly what he's doing. And then he's using this artwork that's almost like something out of not a Miyazaki film, but some kind of cool animated film, which often turns me off, and yet here it turns me on, and it all really works. So I can't really explain why I like this so much, and why I even read this gobbledygook on the back cover, not after I read the story, even though it's supposedly a teaser for the story. But it becomes much more amusing after I've read it. So I'm tickled pink by this. And I guess it's not just written by Kieran Gillen. I keep falling into that trap. It's also written by someone, Rossignol. What's his name? Jim Rossignol. I have no idea who he is in the credits there. And it does not hurt one bit that this is colored by Tamara Bonvillain. So that was my number 1. Any of the top 6 could easily have been a number 1, actually. I enjoyed them all. And I've been trying to catch up on my Batman reading. Another Batman book came out this past Wednesday, but I'm still about 3 issues behind on that. It's too dense to just sit down and read all at once for me. And I've got like issues 1 through 9 of the Metal Men to read. I don't know why. I picked up a whole bunch of those and then just didn't read them, and then have been picking it up. I think I added it to my pull list without reading it, which is just kind of stupid of me. And then the Wonder Woman Dying Earth or Dead Earth or whatever, which I'm a few issues behind on. And those are long, thicker books. So maybe I'll eventually update you on what I think of those. Or maybe I won't, because I've got so much to read. So much to talk about. So I will be back soon enough. Talk to y'all later.